5 jackals formed a deadly circle around a fawn in the middle of a rocky valley. The calf was no more than 2 months old, its legs trembling violently as it tried to stay on its feet, crying desperately for help that seemed not to come. The pack leader, with a white scar across its snout, advanced with teeth bared, growling low and deep. The fawn jumped to the side, but another jackal was already there, snapping its jaws inches from its hind leg. I floored the accelerator, and the jeep tore down the rocky slope, wheels skidding on loose stones. The valley was just below, and I saw a third jackal approaching from behind, aiming directly at the delicate neck of the fawn. A lethal strategy. Bring down the prey by the neck and strangle it to death. The jeep descended at high speed, raising a cloud of dust. I grabbed my rifle and fired 3 times into the air. The boom echoed through the mountains, and the jackals retreated a few meters, but their yellow eyes remained fixed on the fawn, hungry and determined. They hadn't given up. They were just calculating their chances. I jumped out of the vehicle, grabbed a flare, and launched it right into the middle of the pack. The explosion of red light and deafening noise finally had an effect. The leader barked out a hoarse command, and the jackals scattered among the rocks. But I knew perfectly well they wouldn't go far. They would wait in the shadows, patient as ghosts. The fawn was frozen in place, its thin little legs trembling uncontrollably. Blood was dripping from a superficial cut on its ear, but nothing serious. I approached slowly, extending my hand, and the fawn took a few stumbling steps toward me, sniffing my palm and making a weak, high-pitched sound. It was completely alone. No mother, no herd. Deer never abandon their fawns voluntarily, but this little one had gotten lost, strayed too far, and was now vulnerable in hostile territory. Leaving it there would condemn it to death. The jackals would return before I even turned my back. I grabbed the radio. "Base, this is Malek. Found a lone fawn in the South Valley. No sign of family. Going to track them. Over." I needed to find its herd, and fast. I looked around for clues. Delicate heart-shaped tracks in the soft earth, low branches nibbled on, small piles of droppings still moist. About 30 meters away, I found the telltale tracks, fresh marks from several deer heading east, toward the stream. I started walking, and the fawn immediately followed me, its hooves making small sounds against the rocks. Its legs were still trembling, but it refused to fall behind, clearly terrified of being left alone again. We followed the trail through the rocks, and I kept finding new signs. Freshly eaten shrub branches, marks where deer had rested in the flattened grass, fresh tracks that hadn't yet been erased by the wind. The herd had passed through here less than 2 hours ago. 15 minutes later, we reached a narrow passage between 2 rock formations, and I stopped abruptly. On the other side, a pack of wild boars were rooting through the soil, searching for roots. There were at least 20, including 2 huge males with yellowed tusks that gleamed in the sun. Boars are territorial and extremely aggressive, capable of ripping open a man's belly with a single charge. The nearest male raised its head and stared at us, its nostrils flaring. The fawn pressed its body against my leg, trembling violently. I knew the rules. Don't run, don't make noise, don't show fear. I placed my hand gently on the fawn's back and began moving laterally, very slowly, skirting the area. Suddenly, the boar took 2 steps toward us, growling menacingly. The fawn contracted and almost bolted in panic. I held it firmly by the neck, keeping it in place, continuing the lateral movement without speeding up. My blood ran cold, but I maintained a steady, controlled pace. Another boar approached, both watching us with small, angry eyes. It took us almost 15 minutes to completely circle the pack, making a wide arc through the rocks. The boars gradually lost interest, returning to rooting through the soil for food. When we finally reached the other side of the passage, I released the air I didn't realize I'd been holding. The deer trail continued ahead, climbing toward a small pine grove on the slope. 40 minutes later, I heard what I was hoping for. The characteristic sound of deer communicating somewhere among the trees. I quickened my pace, and the fawn cried out and shot ahead. A small herd appeared among the pines, 6 adult does and 3 fawns. The fawn ran toward them with a squeal of joy, but something went terribly wrong. The nearest doe turned toward it, arched her back, and let out a strong warning snort. The fawn stopped, confused. The second doe stamped her hooves hard on the ground. The third lowered her head threateningly. They didn't recognize it. It was a different herd. Deer identify their own by smell, and this fawn smelled strange, contaminated by the scent of jackals and my own human odor. I ran forward, picked up the fawn in my arms, and quickly backed away. One of the does advanced a few steps, her ears back in an aggressive posture. I held the trembling fawn until we were at a safe distance. The little one whimpered softly, not understanding why it had been rejected. I understood in that moment. We had been following the wrong trail from the beginning. Somewhere in those mountains was its real mother, and we needed to restart the search from scratch. We returned to the fork in the trail. I followed the second trail, weaker and almost invisible. The fawn suddenly stopped, raised its snout, and let out an excited cry. It had recognized its mother's scent and shot forward. We reached a small clearing and found a solitary doe lying motionless under a twisted pine tree. The fawn ran to her, crying desperately, nudging her snout. The doe slowly opened her eyes, alive but suffering. Then I saw it, barbed wire deeply embedded in her hind leg, an illegal hunter's trap. The infection was severe, the wire cutting into flesh. That's why she couldn't follow her fawn. I grabbed the radio. Base, we need a veterinary team immediately. Adult doe, wire trap, critical condition.
We'll take care of her.
30 minutes later, Dr. Amara and Tomas arrived. They sedated the doe carefully, cut away the wire sections, and cleaned the infected wound. The fawn trembled in my arms, watching everything. "She'll survive," Amara said. "You found her just in time." Over the next 3 weeks, I visited daily, changing bandages and monitoring recovery. On my final visit, the doe stood healthy and strong. The tiger came running and rubbed its snout against my hand. The mother touched my arm gently, a gesture of gratitude. A small herd appeared at the clearing's edge. The mother called softly, and the fawn pressed against my hand one last time before running after her. I watched them disappear into the golden mist, mother and fawn together again, walking toward their family among the pines.